I'm not sure what that means.
Were you super popular? Hey, there's Rabbs, he's the man.
No.
Were you a loser? Were you in between? Were you with one particular clique? Where were you?
Okay, I'm going to say that growing up, I'm going to say I was the loser. Okay? Probably still am today. I've always been the loser. And growing up, I had a really bad childhood. I don't mind mentioning it. And I had a lot of problems in my house when I was growing up with my family. And little kids have a real way of pinpointing who's got problems, and then they compound those problems by picking on those kids. So I was the kid that was picked on, right? And it's always the kid that's picked on that later in life, you know, goes ballistic and kills everybody. So look out, world. So I was that kid. I was picked on a lot, and I became very introverted, and I spent a lot of time alone. I became a loner. I would say I was the loner more than anything else. And I spent a lot of time alone, didn't have a lot of friends. And there was a time in my life that, like, my cat was like my best friend, and like that was it. And then my cat died, so there you go. And that's basically who I was. But that's like, you know, there's like a commonality between the questions you're asking, by the way, because comedians tend to come from a very tragic, abnormal, sorry-ass life. That's their background. Because I think it was Shakespeare who said that from the greatest tragedies come the greatest comedy. And I've lived a very tragic life, and as a result, I became a comedian. I mean, it just goes hand in hand, and I've been around a lot of comedians for the last decade, and I can tell you that, like, all of them have one thing in common. They're all misfits, and they had really screwed up childhoods. They all grew up different, and they tend to be just total misfits.
What were the most common things that people said to you when you were a child?
What were the
most common things that people said to you?
What people?
Okay, I'll just speak from my own experience as an example too. So I grew up in Australia.
All right.
And then I
Australia
came to the Napa Valley with my parents when I was 11 and entered 6th grade. And suddenly people started saying he's insecure, saying that I am insecure, that I'm needy and seeking attention. And in Australia, we don't go to therapy. Suddenly I moved from Australia to California, which is very influenced by psychological thinking. So the most common things that people said to me after 6th grade, after moving to Australia, was that he is insecure, he is needy for attention. So those words just blazoned into my psyche. So I've been hearing them ever since. I cannot hear the word insecure without thinking about myself and people talking about me. And so I was wondering if there were certain words or phrases that people used on you as a child that are just blazoned into you.
Well, there was words I heard at home from my parents, but I can't repeat them here. I grew up being called like every name in the book by my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can you give any examples?
I was a little bastard, and you know, I knew every dirty name that you can call somebody. Mm-hmm. By the time I was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. My idea of what the English language is that every fourth word is like some cuss word. You know, so like, you know, for me, normal English language, you know...
You can cuss here, you can say anything.
Right. I can cuss here,
yeah.
But I'm going to hear it when it all comes up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, how can a rabbi say fuck?
Well, you do on your YouTube videos. So
yeah, I know. But I know the audience here.
That's fine. It's fine with me.
So, I mean, that's how... To me, English... Every fourth word is either shit, cunt, fuck, cocksucker, motherfucker, something. That's how English was presented to me in my house. Yeah. Okay, and you know, and I was screamed at, and cussed at, and humiliated in every which way you can imagine from the time I was born until I finally got out of that house.
At which age?
Well, I ran away when I was 16, and the dumbest thing I ever did, and people watching at home, pay attention to this. The dumbest thing I ever did was come back. Everybody's like, oh, you gotta go back, you gotta go back. Okay, telling somebody to go back to a situation like that, it's like, hey, get on the trains and go to the camps. You know, Auschwitz is a good place to do picnic dinners. You know, it's just stupid. Somebody runs away, don't tell them to go back. Don't tell them to go back. What you do is keep them until the people who they would go back to are put in jail or apprehended or something else. There's a reason why someone runs away. There's a reason why a little kid runs away from home. Okay, I was 16, I wasn't exactly a little kid, but there's a reason why that happens, and that has to be explored. You don't just send the person back, because that just exacerbates the situation, or at least continues it. You know, so that was my situation. 18, I was out.
What were you good at as a kid?
Making people laugh. I've always been good at making people laugh. I think for me, like I said, it's the Shakespearean thing, you know, it's like, but I think it's also deeper than that. I think it's just, you know, I've always been in a lot of trauma. I've been in a lot of trauma from the time I was a kid, right? And I just learned to deal with it by making myself and other people laugh. And it's also like a blocking mechanism, I think, too. You know?
It keeps people at a distance.
It keeps people at distance, because I like to keep people at arm's length. I don't really like, I have like a little inner circle, you know, it's like I have a little fort, you know, and only like a few people get past the moat and the huge wall and everything. And, you know, often there's nobody else around inside my little palace, my little palace grounds. That's it. It's like I got this little fort, you know, but occasionally I'll bring somebody through. But the way I keep people at arm's length, it's like I can go into a crowd of like 500 people and go on stage, you know, for a half hour or so and just make everybody laugh and talk to them and everything. But you know what? They don't really get to know me, because I keep them there. If somebody actually, just one of those audience members got on stage and tried to talk to me and be real with me, I would freak out and I'd run away.
How are you doing so far?
Here with you? I'm doing great. This I can handle. You know, this I can handle, because it's not really real. You know, and it's like there's an air of not realness to this. You know, it's like these are things I can talk about publicly, and I don't have a problem with it, because we're not really. I can't explain the difference.
I get it. It's still an artificial construct.
Yeah, exactly.
I am interviewing you.
Yeah, you're interviewing me. Right. But like, if you want to like hang out and like do dinner and like, you know, stuff tonight, I would get like really nervous, because that's how I am. I put up walls and stuff. But the point I wanted to get into, I hope I'm not.
You can go anywhere.
Was combating stuff by making people laugh. I think it's a way of blocking. And I wanted to give an example that I was speaking to somebody recently about it. It brought up a memory. I didn't do real well all the time when I was in classes, you know, in schools and whatever, because everybody, it seemed, I would be stuck in a situation, you know, where like, listen to somebody speak for an hour, you know, where they're giving a shear or they're giving a class or whatever, and everybody else was taking notes. I was never good at taking notes. I couldn't pay attention to what was going on, right? And so like there was I don't know what it was. Maybe it was ADD. I don't know how. I was never diagnosed. I can't pay attention like that. But when someone's talking to me, you know what ends up happening is I start taking on their voice, and I start memorizing their things about them. And then at the end of the hour, everybody else like is discussing all the content that the person was speaking about, and Rabbs has the person down pat and can do an impression of them. I don't know what they were speaking about, but I can now stand on the stage that they were standing on, or in the front of the classroom, and I can do an impression of them. I can do their voice. And I am convinced by the end of this interview, I can do you. Because you got an Australian voice, and I can do Australian. So it's going to be very easy. So that's what's going to happen after this. You're going to be blown away by the things I say, and I'm going to be walking around all night doing your voice. And that's just the way I am. So I don't know what that's about, but that's just part of being like a comedian. I don't understand it exactly, but that's just the way I am. That's the way I'm wired. And I don't know if it's blocking or what it... I don't understand the mental mechanism, but I just know that I can do... Basically, I walk away doing impressions of everybody that I'm talking to.
Have you ever had psychotherapy?
Have I ever had psychotherapy? Oh my God, I've spent like half my life on the couch. I've been inside the offices of like at least a dozen, without exaggeration, at least a dozen therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, what do you call them, counselors,